You're plugged into Schaumburg Speaks, a podcast highlighting and celebrating local businesses and community in the Schaumburg area.
Hi, and welcome to Schaumburg Speaks, the podcast where we highlight the people, businesses, and stories that make our community so special. I'm your host, Andrea Biwer, president of the Schaumburg Business Association. And today's episode is especially meaningful for me because our guests are longtime Schaumburg Business Association members and people I've had the opportunity and pleasure of working with for a very long time. We were just talking about it, and it's been 40 years that I've had the opportunity to work with Jim. So joining us today are Jim Fabbrini, owner of Fabbrini Flowers, and his son, Jack Fabbrini. And Jack represents the third generation of this wonderful, wonderful family business.
Well, thank you for having us. It's an honor to be here. And of course, Andrea, I'm thinking 60 years, after 60 years in the business, or it'll be 60 years in October, right? I'm just surprised and honored that anyone even wants to hear the story, right?
Are you kidding? Again, Jim has been members, and Jack, everybody knows, and everybody is just going to enjoy the story. I think we've all had the opportunity of working with the both of you, but many don't know the people behind the legendary Fabbrini Flowers. So tune in right now, because here we go. So let's have our listeners get to know, and let's start from the beginning.
Sure.
Jim, how did you get started in the flower business?
Well, okay, so what happened with my dad, he used to work for a company called Burlington Industries. He was a traveling salesman, and he was selling like seatbelts and not seatbelts, but webbing and fabric for this company. His area was these like Michigan, Illinois, Wisconsin. And early in the 60s, they mandated, the federal government mandated seatbelts in cars. Well, his business just took off, and he spent most of his time in Detroit selling seatbelts to companies.
You are really aging yourself talking
about
seatbelts.
I know.
I feel like we've had to wear them forever, but we did it.
I know, but the thing is like nobody wore them back then. I know. Yeah, I'm sure you were like loose. I was a loose cannon in the back of my parents' car with if we were getting a car crash, I'd have been a projectile out of that car.
So we did seatbelts, and then how did he transition?
So it was actually not my dad, but my mom who said, I'm done with being a housewife. She was at the time she was writing articles like recipes in the Record, which was a first paper here in Schaumburg, Coffin Estates.
Before the Daily Herald.
Before the Daily Herald, right? And she said, I got to get out and do my own thing. And so she decided to open up a gift shop, which had flowers to it. And then, I'd love to tell you that it was something romantic that got me into the flower business, but it was pushing a broom. I think she was probably babysitting me and, said, okay, clean up over there. So, but
I know what that's like.
Yeah. So it didn't change. Third generation later, it did not change.
Well, he had to learn it. I had to learn it from someone, and so he is too. So, so then I got out of college, and I was looking for a job, and my mom said, well, why don't you come and just fill in and make some money here? And I said, sure. And I realized that I knew more because of being in the business than really all the employees that we had there. So it was not a stretch for me to start going full time. And I started looking for a job less and working more, and became manager and then general manager. At the time, we had 3 stores. I don't know if you know this or not, but we were the first store to open up in Woodfield Mall, other than the majors. It was, the cooler went in quickly. It was a flower shop, yeah. And my grandma would sell flowers, the kiosks that are out there now.
Yeah.
We asked Woodfield Mall if we could put a little flower cart out there on the weekends, and they said sure. And my grandma would sell flowers to people, roses and carnations to people walking in. And the thing is like I was just walking Woodfield Mall the other day. That place is crazy busy, and it was back then.
I bet you want to have a cart out there now. It would be about more than. But,
I would love that. Yes, I would love that.
So, what
for sure.
made you want to stay in the flower business when you were, trying to figure out what you want to do? What was it about that? Just because you knew it?
Well,
or
yeah.
working with family?
It's not just that, though. I mean, so I'm just going to go back and tell you a quick story about. I gave a vocational speech at at Adams Junior High. They asked me to come and talk about the flower business, and so I thought, well, how can I make an impression on these kids about what a great job this is? And I start out every speech by saying, I have the best job in the world. And so
make everybody happy.
Well, yeah,
or give them a smile.
Yeah, but we do. We help people at the best and worst times of their life, right? So I said I was giving a speech and I was telling the kids what I did, and I said rather than tell you what I do, I'm going to show you what I do. So I asked the teacher to leave the room, and I said, which they can't do that anymore. So this is probably like 10 years ago, or maybe 5 years ago, and
you have to be chaperoned.
Exactly. So the teacher left the room, and I said, "Who here likes the teacher?" And a bunch of people raised their hand. It was really actually quite enlightening to me that they were really great about it. And one girl was really descriptive, and she said, "We really like her because she does this and this and this." And I said, "That's great. Come on up here." And so I gave her a bouquet of flowers. And I said, now, when she comes back in the room, I want you to hand her the flowers and tell her the same thing you told me. And so we brought the teacher back in, and she gives her the flowers, and she said, "Mrs. So-and-so," I'm going to leave her name out because I know it, but I don't want to say it because I don't want to call her out. We love you because you're so helpful, and you make us feel so great, and you get us through homework and all that. And then she gave her the flowers, and the teacher started crying. Okay, now that's an emotional time. And I looked at the kids, and I said, "That's what I do for a living," and that's pretty powerful to 7th and 8th graders. So it's to me, that's what made the difference. And when you're making a difference like that, you want to continue it. That's why I stay in the flower business.
Okay. So before we turn this over to Jack, I have one other question. Obviously, growing a family business has a lot of challenges. What are some of the things through the years that you've faced and you've conquered past it?
Well, okay, so the flower business is cyclical. So the hardest thing is, you'll make money in Christmas and Mother's Day and Valentine's Day, and you have to be able to hang on to that money, right? Because cash flow doesn't always go like that. So if you can get used to those stretches where you're not going to make a ton of money and make sure that you watch your budget, that I think that's the toughest thing. And then also trying to fill in those spaces where we don't make a lot of money. So summers were pretty lean for us, but then we started to get into the flower business. Into the wedding business, and we really made a difference on that. The wedding business, again, you're touching people's lives, and you can tell you're making people happy. I can't tell you how many times I walk in and give the bride her flowers, and she starts crying. So it's an emotional time for her, right?
Special time.
Big day, big day. So those are great takeaways. Is to make sure with a cyclical business that you can stretch it out and then fill in the times that you can.
Yeah, that's
In
great.
2008, lucky to be here. Yeah, lucky to be here because it was a tough time, and
it's a tough time for a lot. I mean, we hear a lot of the businesses, and the fact that you guys are here thriving, and now it's third generation getting involved. All right, Jack, here's your turn. So, I want to hear your story. What made you decide, like your dad, to stay in this family business? What was it about it? I hope it's a different story.
Yeah,
probably the same. You were sweeping.
I mean, I joked about it earlier, but I have two brothers, and they were a part of the business. At a certain point in time, they would help out with deliveries and buckets and cleaning roses and things like that. The easy kind of manual labor jobs that
I can't even believe you have brothers. Sorry, I always just think it's you.
Yeah, I got two of them, and and they are the exact opposite of myself. I would say they're a little more introverted unless you really get them going. and this business takes an extroverted person, and because you're here to service so many different types of people, and that's really what I fell in love with the business, was the customer service aspect, more so than anything, and the abilities that have been passed on to me from my grandpa to my dad to myself, to just really be open and connect with people on just a really human level. And when you're dealing with such an emotional purchase, you have to be able to do that. And so, though we have struggled in the past, my dad and I, with being able to work together when I was a little bit younger, and so was he, we're in a really good spot now. And I came back to the business about 5 years ago after kind of trying to navigate my own path. And it kind of almost felt the same way, though, as I had my own job, my own career going. I was in landscape construction and design, and it was seasonal. And then so one winter, I go back to the business, and my dad was like, hey, why don't you just stick around for a little bit, and see how this one plays out. And so I did, and I haven't looked back since, and it's been tremendous, these last 5 years.
I have to say a little relatable story. So I had the opportunity, kind of the same thing, where my mom was in the chamber business working right here 25 years ago, where she said, Andrea, I was working downtown, and she asked me to come and work for her and do events. And it was an amazing experience. Although we had our challenges definitely in the beginning, because I think I was around your age when I started working for my mom. So tell me some of the challenges and some of the great things that it's been like working for your dad. Well, I don't know if this is a good question, but that you're able to talk about on Schaumburg Speaks.
The apple does not fall far from the tree is a great saying for us, because we could argue about, what shade of navy blue this is, and or black, or whatever the light is showing us right now, right? And he could say the same thing. No, it's black. It's I would say no, it's black, and then we'd argue about who's more right. So that's our struggle, is that we both have great insight, and we see a vision, and to be able to adapt to the other person's vision, I feel like can get in the way sometimes. But
what have you learned from him? Once you learned how to adapt?
Well, a lot of what I learned from it, Jim, is that about the business especially, actually more so than that, is just how to be a good person. And I see how much he cares, when he goes to, we were at the Rotary Classic this past weekend, and he's up there being honored, briefly for the impact he had in the last few classics that have been around. And it's a huge fundraiser. I mean, Jim can probably tell you how much they raise year after year at this event, but it all goes to tremendous causes. And besides that, it's, every time someone from, we sponsor a podcast, Steve Dahl, if you're familiar with him, an old radio head. And
we have way more listeners.
and people come into the store.
Steve Dahl, I know.
Random people.
You probably don't know about him, but
I
Dad
do.
And I do.
I know him pretty well these days.
Yeah.
He's a very nice guy. He always takes the time to talk to me when I see him, and it's just so genuine, because he'll come up from the office. Steve Dollar, we'll call him Dollars. They come in and they want to buy flowers, and he just immediately gets up, goes and talks to them for a little bit, because that's the face they want to see. He's on the show. He talks to Steve, and obviously advertises for us, but he always makes time for the people, even in that instance, because that's what makes our business go around. And to be able to, understand that, and then understand why it's so important, that's like the major, tip and trick that I've picked up from Jim, is you got to care, you got to care.
You really do. So Jim, hearing Jack say all this wonderful things about you, how does that make you feel?
Well, I'm very proud of Jack. It's great to see his successes, and the thing is like Jack knows that he needs me. He knows he can't do it by himself, but he still wants to. And that's actually a testament to him. That's actually, I'm proud of the fact that he wants to do that. I'll never forget this. When I dropped him off at college, he said to me, and I think he was trying to give me a little zinger here. He said, Dad, just say I'm never coming back home. And I felt so bad. For the first half hour, I was like, on the way back home, I was like, oh, this is terrible. But I realized he's a kid, right?
Yeah.
And the truth is that when I got after a half hour, I was like, hey, I'm free.
I didn't know how that feels pretty soon.
Yeah. Well, and so the thing is like, you teach, I mean, you want them to be out there. You want them to say, I'm not coming back. I want to spread my wings and do my stuff. So when I see him get his successes in the business, that just makes me more proud. And he's much more equipped than I was when I was his age to, take on the family business, and he's still gonna have to pay me just like I paid my parents.
Yeah.
So, but another thing that I wanted to say was like, did Jack ever like indicate to me that when he was a young boy, that he wanted to be in the flower business? And I actually know the date that happened, that I knew that he could be in that flower business. And I'm going to tell you a quick story really quick.
I'm excited for this one, I'm not sure.
It was Valentine's Day 2005. I ordered 125 dozen roses, and I put them out in buckets in front of the store. Now, 2005 was a really warm year. I think it was like 50 degrees out on that Valentine's Day. And I put Jack out in the front of the store, and I put a sign on the flowers that said, $25 for a dozen roses on Valentine's Day. And people just drove up, and they'd get out of their car, or he'd bring them to the car.
Idea.
Yeah, well, it was funny because I had to keep checking on him. I didn't want him, anything to happen to him. He's literally in front of our store, so I could keep an eye on him the whole time. And how old were you then?
I would have been about 10 or 11 at that
11
time.
years old. And
oh my God.
yeah. And he's taking money from people, and I think he might have slipped a couple of 20s in his pocket.
Oh,
I didn't take any money.
Good job, Jack.
I didn't take any money.
He didn't. But it was no credit card at the time, and it was just it was a moment that I said, well, he could do it, because he's got that part of it.
Yeah, how to do it.
And I'm not lying to you. Out of the 125 dozen, he probably sold 75. That's how. Yeah, it was a busy center, and people were going through, so it was the right thing at the right time. But that was his experience. I'm sure catapulted him into, well, maybe that's not, it's not so bad. So.
Yeah, your family legacy, that's just amazing. So now that you've been involved in the industry for such a long time, and now you have been involved for a long time, what trends have you seen that have changed? And as we look to the industry, as we look to events side of the industry and the social side of the industry?
Well, okay, so changes, number one is FTD is Florist Trans Rural Delivery. Many people know the
800.
Name. 800 Flowers, but FTD was like, was owned by its members. So if you were a florist and you had FTD, you were part owner in them. And then in 94, they sold out. They sold, and they were traded publicly on as a stock. And so it went from all owning part of it. And, think the mindset was, well, we own this, so we're sending flowers to other florists, and they're taking care of our stuff. It went from that to, all for one, to you're all on your own. So now we have to market for ourselves, and we have to.
And that was 94?
That was 94,
okay.
Yeah. So that was, and so.
that was before internet. I mean,
exactly.
It was around, but not.
So that was one change that really, the rippling effect still is felt today, and the reason is because it spawned other order gatherers,
like the 800.
Exactly.
So how does that work? How does
it's a great question.
Many people may not know that.
Right.
So I'm wanting to order flowers for somebody who lives in Mundelein.
Right.
And I just call it because I don't know a florist right there, even though you guys could do it.
Right. So what we do is if you were to call us, we would call a florist in Mundelein. But most people now are just getting the idea, well, I can just call them directly. And why wouldn't I? Because I'm spending the money directly to the florist out there. And what order gatherers do is they will market to people who are already flower buyers, and then they'll say, I'm going to give the order to a local florist because they don't know it.
Is that by going through 1-800-Flowers, for example? Like if you Google?
Yeah,
so
exactly.
You just say, hey, I want to order flowers. How does that get to the local?
They will use a service or they'll call you and they'll say, here's the order. But it's going to be less a few dollars because we got that
service makes money off of you calling.
Yeah, and it's very profitable for them. Okay. That's why there are so many of them. But as the trend, I'm telling you, that's one of the trends that's changing is that people are saying, I don't want to do that anymore. I want to call the florist directly. Good. I want to give the money to the person who's actually doing the work.
Versus the 800 versus the whatever.
Right.
So that's great.
So that's one of the trends that I feel is changing. Mm-hmm. Ordering online absolutely is we've shifted. We have a great website, and the website. I'm shocked on how many people will use that website. Not shocked, I guess. I use a website too to do my ordering as well. So why wouldn't people? It's so much easier. Yeah, I knew. What people will do is, just like you, they'll go on the website, find out what they want, and then make the phone call, which we're prepared for both, right? Why not?
Yeah.
But if it's at late at night or whatever, we're closed, then they're going to say, well, I'm just going to use the website. I can go on here and then, it's perfectly fine. And my friends will get the order. So that's one of the things that changed a lot. Another trend is, and I know you're going to love this, when like high school dances, when you went to a high school dance, you went and
That's changed.
Yes, it's changed a lot.
You got a corsage.
Right, you got a corsage.
Flower.
You didn't get a corsage. What would happen is you get a boutonniere, and then the guy would get the corsage or whatever. And men are not, especially young men like that. They don't. I mean, usually their moms would come in and say, "Well, I think she's wearing this," and it's important for us. Color is very important, right? Mm-hmm. So we have to know what color the dress is. That whole thing has gone to the wayside. Now, what'll happen is the girl will come in and she'll say, I want to order my corsage, bouquet, and the boutonniere. So she gets them both because she wants them to be right. Because young girls are much more on top of what they want. And they're also educated as to how,
I know what some of the girls are doing. This is just, I have a 17-year-old. Her friends will buy flowers from a local flower shop, and then they'll get together and with the moms, and everybody will put it together.
Sure. So
themselves,
again,
too.
They educate themselves how to do it. Right. Yeah.
So that's interesting.
It is.
They still buy the flowers from you all, but then they do it how they want it.
Right. Which is that's fine. I mean, however they want to get it done, then they get it done.
But you guys do all of that.
We will. And the dance flowers, because you said it the way you said it, dance flower is not as prominent as it used to be. We used to have hundreds of orders in there, and now there's probably half of that now. So on a busy weekend, it's not as busy, and it's because people are getting their own flowers and making their own.
So what is picking up?
Prom is definitely the bigger of the dances.
It's coming up.
Yeah, which is rapidly approaching.
Yeah. What is the biggest holiday? Is it still Valentine's Day? Is it Mother's Day?
What do you think?
I think it's Valentine's Day, but I think Mother's Day is also
You want to take this one, Jack?
Well, I mean, you're right in both instances. In a single day.
Or Christmas.
Yeah, so we'll get to Christmas. When my grandma started the business, it was significantly more than what it is today, but it's still a very popular holiday for us. But Valentine's Day, the 13th, 14th, those singular days are very large. The amount of orders we get in within those days, I think we were around 500 or so orders between those 2 days this year, excuse me. And then Mother's Day is throughout the whole week. So normally it's Monday through Sunday. Hey, get the flowers there. Really any time. It seems to be a bigger holiday. Because there's more people have moms than more people have significant others to buy flowers for. But they're both great days, and I mean, we love them because the days go by, and they're long and they go by quick.
Yeah.
And everyone, is keeping their hands moving, and all of our fabulous employees, they love when it's as busy as can be too. When the dog days of summer roll in, that can be a little strenuous with not being able to be as creatively free. So yeah.
What else is surprising that is where you get, I mean, obviously I know funerals too. is another one. But it still brings happiness to people when they get flowers and different. What like maybe it's that, but is there anything else that people would be surprised at that?
Well, okay, so again,
I know I'm bringing up a lot.
No, that's okay. Back in the in the 80s and 90s, we used to get a lot of our flowers would come from California because it was here in the United States. Well, now 90% of all the flowers you see, and I was talking about in the grocery store, at Sam's, at wherever you see flowers, 90% of that comes from South America, which is incredible, right? I mean, and very little is coming from California. They're still producing, but they're just not producing.
Why is that?
California keeps most of their own product.
The weather changes, right? Number one. And California still has very good product. I mean, it's really pretty, right?
More expensive.
It is more expensive. To cultivate it. But it is interesting, though. It's usually 2 days from the time they cut it off the plant in Colombia to the time it lands and is in my cooler, that's incredible, right?
Well, we are by O'Hare. That's why this location is
help.
amazing.
That does help.
I'm sure other places across the country it takes longer. If
it does.
Getting it.
Chicago gets some of the best flowers. We get straight from Miami up to here is a 28-hour drive, and that's the majority of the trip for them, and not coming from South America to Miami. And then our suppliers in particular, the ones that we've paired with, I believe they're the only supplier that has customs inside their own warehouse. So they don't have to go to a different warehouse, break it all down, and then send it. They go right through that warehouse, right in the truck, right to Chicago. And from Chicago, it gets dispersed out from, majority of the Midwest and then kind of East Coast as well. So we get kind of first choice on flowers, so we get really good product in Chicago.
Funny story, back in September of 2017, I had a bride that I was doing flowers for, and she ordered a lot of specific flowers for her wedding. And on that date, for her date, I remember seeing, I always look at the forecast because I want to see what the weather's going to be like, right? Well, Hurricane Irma was coming and was going to hit Miami, and it was right when my flowers were coming into Miami. So I was like, I'm not going to get my flowers for her wedding, and what am I going to do, right?
The weather's beautiful here, and people probably aren't paying attention. It's their wedding.
Right, exactly. Yeah. So what I did is I went to, there's probably 5 different wholesalers in the area, and I went around to all of them and I got her flowers. Now, I got them early, so may not be as fresh, but what I did is I cut them and I turned the cooler down to like 34 degrees so they wouldn't freeze. And on her wedding day, she got her flowers. And I remember looking at the newspaper on Sunday and then again on Monday, and one of the complaints from people was brides didn't get their flowers on that week, but my bride did. And it was,
flowers.
It was, I mean, it was a little forethought, right, to get it together. And really, it was necessity, right? Necessity is the mother of pulling it together, so that's why
it makes me nervous even hearing about it for you guys. So before we talk about future, where you see the business are going, I have one other question as it relates to the wedding. Jack, is there any trends that you're seeing from the younger brides, older brides right now in the wedding industry? Because I know you do a ton of weddings.
Yeah, we do. We definitely do a ton of weddings. Again, we got a fabulous staff, so we're able to handle all of the weddings too. And as Jim said, a lot of experience to make sure that we're always taking care of our brides and grooms. It's two people, going at trying to get married. So
it's the bride's day, though.
It is. But we, the trends that I've been seeing,
multiple weddings. I'm just kidding. Yeah, you're seeing them again and again. Future generations.
That's definitely part of it. But as far as like the trends, they come and go. They always, like blush is coming back. And when I first started back in the business, right out of college, blush was in. So that was like 11 years ago. 10 years ago now. So everything comes back in style. The big style that's in right now is classic, like bohemian. So you're going to have your elegant, stand the test of time look while still having the artistically kind of crafted, unstructured wildflower look to make things look like you took this dish in front of you and you planted all of the flowers in there and they grew just in time for the wedding. And that's, they grow at different heights and colors and sizes. And so that's really big in right now, and keeping that again, still artistically crafted, but bohemian classic is like the huge trend that I've been seeing lately. Rustic is out, the kind of the barn wedding type industrial look they're still happening, but it's definitely working its way out right now.
I love bohemian. It's so pretty.
Yeah, and the bohemian is great because it can be done anywhere, and I think that's why it's so utilized right now, because you can go to a venue like the Seville where we were at the other day for the classic, and it's very traditional looking, and you could still go bohemian in there with just keeping it somewhat classic look and having some unstructured design styles through it, or bringing in wildflowers. But the other thing that I found is very important is the open line of communication and the honesty that we bring to the younger generation, because they're so informed with phones and computers and the internet, as we talked about, being so readily available. You can get a budget and an idea of what your wedding might cost just asking ChatGPT or something like that, and so it allows us to have great jumping off points with them, but also letting them know, hey, listen, like this is how things are going to be done for your style of wedding, and we're here to walk you through everything from A to Z. And I think that the younger generation in particular, just even my age and a little younger, who are getting predominantly married right now, are really looking for the most honest and
they're very
local,
educated and
florist around, because they know just from experience, the big box stores and Amazon and all these other companies aren't the most trustworthy when it comes down to it in the end. They all have their own practices that they're driving their profit line, but we're here to service the community and make sure that everyone's as happy as can be. And so I think that's kind of where the style really has been running to. Is just
future generation is bright.
Yeah, they are very bright.
Literally. So where do you see business going the next 25 years?
Okay, so
this could be a very short conversation for Jim, longer for Jack, but
it's really not that hard, because you know how real estate has the 3 rules of real estate: location, location, location.
You have a great location.
The 3 rules of the flower business to be successful is service, service, service.
Okay.
I mean, we definitely have a great service attitude. We have, when I hire new employees, I always tell them the 4 don'ts of Fabbrini's Flowers. Don't say the word no. If you say no, then you've lost a customer. And being in business 60 years, sometimes people just want to buy from us. They don't. Because they're used to it. Don't disparage a customer. I don't think that's it's a stretch to say that, but I've heard it when I've been in other stores, and I don't like it. So another don't is don't make a customer repeat themselves. So if you take a phone call and you can't take the order, then you come into me and you say, hey, this is Larry, and he wants to send flowers to Hoffman Estates. So I pick up the phone and say, hi, Larry, this is Jim. I know that you want to send flowers to Hoffman Estates. How can I help you? And that way they know there's been some internal discussion about us. And then the last one is not to have internal discussion in front of a customer. You've got time to talk, as soon as that customer leaves, but really you should be putting your attention on them. So that's the service part of it. As far as other things that are trending, I think we said it already. Number 1 is I feel like people are getting smarter, and they're going to say, okay, I don't want to send my order to the order gatherer. I want to send it to someone who's local. I'm going to look up a florist there. Yep. So
the future is bright.
The future is bright. It really is. It's. I think it's going to be. I don't want to say easy for Jack, because it's not easy for anybody, right? I went to a seminar recently, and these people had gotten grants, so they were up in front of a seminar, and they were giving their take on what they had, what had happened. And it was really great, because at the end they said, I need to know how to make a profit. And I mean, they're still worried about the things that I'm still worried about, that he should be worried about. You know, it's when you're in business for yourself, you're always looking over your shoulder, right? So I think that's the best takeaway, is that, you know, you look at people who you think have made it and they're not. They're still worried about, you know, what's pressing.
We
them,
always
you know?
worry. I think it doesn't matter what industry you're in, small business, large business.
It is. It is.
There's
That's
always
true.
something looming, but you guys have made that something looming, beautiful and blooming, and and especially working with Jack at the Schaumburg Business Association, because we're working with him more now. It's been such a pleasure.
It has been.
Yeah, and the fact that you guys are members, I'm going to ask one last question where I know all the viewers, you're chomping at the bit on how to get in touch with Fabbrini, but our viewers are very smart. They've already looked you up and ChatGPT'd it, and they probably have all the information. But how has been a part of the Schaumburg Business Association for over 25 years? And I know working with you, but now working with you, Jack, how has it helped Fabbrini's Flowers?
I'm going to take the first part, and then Jack can answer the second part, how to get a hold of us. Number one is, Andrea, if you weren't here, I don't think we'd be here. No, there's no question about it. When we get when we get referred any kind of business, either like a bouquet for a funeral or a birthday bouquet, and we say, how did you find us? Oh, we went to Andrea. Andrea sent something over, or Kaylee sent the whatever. They'll always tell us, I mean, which is awesome. That is so great. Or it could even be a roundabout way. It could be, well, we were here and then I saw that you were on the Schaumburg Business website, or you were in their booklet. I know that you're local and you're grounded here. So that's very helpful. But then there's also businesses, when they move into town, you know, you're going to say, hey, here's a list of the people that we work with here. And then people will just call here and say, I'm looking for a florist.
Okay.
Help me out.
Yeah, hands down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And your staff, everyone is just wonderful. And they have been through years and years and years. I mean, it's like you were born to do this job, and thank you. I appreciate that.
Thank you. Well, I'm very fortunate here. I have an amazing team, and we've had amazing leadership for 25 years, and it's just, you know, passed on. So, but I have to say, for our experience, the feeling is mutual when we have events, and we do a lot of events like Savor. We also do a black tie event. Who do we call? We call Fabbrini's, and who makes the room beautiful? Fabbrini's. And who do we text? Who responds right away? Fabbrini's. So again, right back at you. We're so fortunate to have you and to have Jack. I know Kaylee, our VP of events, and Jack have worked together on so many things,
quite a few.
Definitely have made the events that were started out 25 years ago so much better now. So
they're a lot of fun. The Toast is one of my favorite events of the year, so I appreciate going to it every year, and I appreciate being a part of the decor that everyone gets to enjoy. You know?
And your creativity, Fabbrini's not just as a flower that's putting together. I know we consult you and we tell you our themes, and you come up with these beautiful centerpieces. And I do encourage, I'm going to ask them how to get in touch with you all, but go to the Schaumburg Business website, or go to our Facebook page, and they could see through the years of the Toast of Schaumburg the amazing, immaculate centerpieces that you guys have done for us.
Definitely.
And you'll just be able to see it, and you're going to call them for your events. But how could they get in touch with you now?
Well, the easiest way to get in touch with us, our phone number has been the same since we started the business. You call 847-885-2000, and we have...
Best number. I mean, I even know that.
It's a great number.
Still.
And we have the most wonderful staff that you can ever have the pleasure of calling. They're all knowledgeable and can help you. And if they can't, they'll direct you to who can. Or just call and ask for Jim or I. We'd be more than happy to take the time to help you. And just something as simple as placing an order to, you got a baby shower coming up, or wedding, or whatever it might be that you need flowers for, we are here to help you. Even on the sadder occasions with funeral work, we will sit down with you. We will customize it to make something that is not just, you know, your cookie cutter funeral piece. We will tailor it to something that actually shows the character and the spirit of the person that you want to celebrate. The other way is our wonderful website, which is fabbflowers.com. So fabflowers.com, because we make the most fabulous flowers.
Yes, you
we
do.
have a great page.
I feel like that was new. Go ahead.
From there, you can get to all of our different categories we have, and including our wedding page, which will take you to Events by Fabbrini's, where we host a domain that has all of our wedding work on there. You can see the great work we do throughout the summer and fall, especially. Those seasons are coming up rapidly. But those are the two main ways. Otherwise, social media.
SchaumburgBusiness.com.
Yes.
They could go to our website too.
Yes, they can.
That's true.
They can. And I believe if you go there too and you refer to that, we have 10% off for SBA members
that's
and
amazing.
for people who are utilizing that
That's
website.
why they're our partners. Thank you.
Are you giving money away now, Jim?
Yeah. Yeah. No, he's good. He's good. He's not. Well, thank you all so much for being here. This was so much fun. And yeah, thanks for
It was
listening to
amazing.
Schaumburg
Can't
Speaks.
thank you enough
Seriously,
for all
thank
the
you.
support you've given us and your team. They're just awesome.
Thank
Thank you
you.
so much. And thank you for having us on.
Yeah, thank you for being here.